Hey everyone, it's Kale from Path to Pinnacle Club, and I wanted to shoot a quick update video while we're traveling here in Buenos Aires, Argentina for our next cruise. This is going to be a Q&A video addressing a lot of the questions that I've gotten on my earning free cruises videos and that type of topic because there's lots of questions, and I also noticed that most of my subscribers watch on TV, so they can't really see the comment section very well. So I'm going to go ahead and provide a Q&A of a lot of some of the questions I've gotten here. So let's get into it. So first, Smash Boom Bam asked how many dollars equals 1 point. I've covered this in a bunch of my videos, but that's $5 played through a slot machine is 1 point on Royal Caribbean, or $10 through a video poker machine is 1 point. So that's question number one. Christopher Miller 5752 asked, great videos, a pleasure meeting you by Cafe Promenade before getting off the recent 5-night sailing on Freedom of the Seas. Couple of questions. What lower volatility slots do you recommend on Freedom, and what denomination would you recommend to maximize time and points? I played Lion Link for the first time that sailing and saw from 150 denom to $2 denom. It doubled the mini and minor for just a 33% increase in minimum bet. I thought there was some edge there. Thanks, Chris and Taylor. So great to meet you, Chris and Taylor. Thank you so much for reaching out when I saw you, and thank you so much for the question. So in general, whether it's Freedom of the Seas or a different sailing, I did a whole video on low volatility slots. Your question is specific about low volatility slots in general and then the denomination. So honestly, to pick a lower volatility slot in general, you want to look for fewer bonus features and more lines as a general rule. So by lines or ways, if that's a possibility. So if you haven't seen my volatility slot guide, please check it out. I'll leave it in the description, but a quick little primer. So when you're betting a slot machine, the old school reels will just have one line down the middle and you want 777 down the line. On the sides of the machine, if you go into the rules or the information on there, it'll tell you how many lines there are. The more lines there are, the higher frequency of hit you'll have. But the more lines there are, the hits might also be smaller. But if you want a low volatility slot machine, you want a lot of frequent hits that are generally smaller, and that'll keep you afloat, as opposed to a high volatility. You'll be lose your whole bet, lose your whole bet, lose your whole bet, lose your whole bet, and occasionally hit something big. So if you're asking for low volatility slots in general, to not make it specific to one ship because they take games out all the time, I would pick something with a lot of lines and a lot of ways, and of course a machine that you enjoy playing. So if it has a lot of progressives up top and 5 different bonus features and all kinds of stuff that doesn't even feed into like the main line pays, usually it's going to be a higher volatility slot. If it has a $10,000-$20,000 grand, it's probably a very high volatility slot because some of the percentage payback has to go to those super long shot, once in a lifetime type of hits. So any old school real slot, especially one with like a lot of ways, things like Red Hot Tamales, any games that are kind of like on the old school reels but are newer are generally pretty good low volatility slots in general. Otherwise, ones with lots of ways and lots of hits and fewer bonus features. Now, you also asked about denominations. So you said 150 or 2, but I think you meant $1 or $2, or 1 cent, 2 cent as the denominations. Generally, a higher denomination has a chance of being set at a slightly higher payback to player. So if you are betting 10 cent minimum, so let's say it's 50 credits is the minimum bet, so a 10 cent denomination, that would be $5. If $5 is about the size you're betting, you could probably do 50 credits at 10 cents instead of 500 credit at 1 cent. They'd both be a $5 bet. There's a chance that the 10 cent one will pay better. But the other thing to look out is on some machines, if you bet a higher denomination, they'll actually have fewer pay lines, which would also increase the volatility, as I was just saying. So you want to look out for maximum number of lines. I don't think it matters too much for this. I think it's more important to bet small enough so that your budget lasts, and in a game that you actually enjoy if you are choosing to do this in the first place. So stick to the low volatility slot guide I put out. Check it out. I also recommend, if you have the patience and the interest in it, to learn Jacks or Better video poker strategy. That is the lowest volatility video poker game, and that will pay back much better if you play that with perfect strategy than any of the slot machines on any of these cruise ships. So thanks for your question, Chris and Taylor. Next one. What do you think is the range of funds needed to reach 1,500 points? This is from Melinda Pironi. I know that 1 point equals $5 bet. That is correct. But averaging in wins and losses, are we looking at $1,000 or $3,000? What's your experience? Great question, and of course I have to preface this with there is no guarantee at all. We are gambling on, even if you keep it low volatility, there's a huge range of distribution, standard deviations of results. There's people who win on day one and keep winning or break even the rest of the cruise and have a great time and make lots of points. There's people who just get killed immediately on day one, and then every time they play, they lose more. So that's why I always recommend starting at the lowest bet you're comfortable with, trying to project how long that would take you to hit your point offer, because it's always safer to bet small and play for a longer time than to bet big and play for a shorter time if you want to preserve your bankroll. Now, as a general rule of thumb, to reach 1,500 points, if I'm being conservative, I estimate about $1 per point needed an expected loss. I think that's a little bit conservative. I think in general you might lose less than that. But I like to be conservative with these types of things because it's better to overshoot and end up with more money than you thought than, end up hitting your budget and being still like 500 points away from your target of points. So that would be my rough thing. So if you're saying 1,000 to 3,000, 1,000 or 3,000, I would say a range in there, probably between 1,000 and 3,000 for 1,500 points, if I'm being conservative. But again, if you want to keep that on the smaller end of the range, I would bet smaller for longer, and yeah, that's what I would recommend. Thank you for your question, Melinda Pironi. But again, there's no guarantees with these things at all. So if you want the guaranteed everything else, just search out a cruise, pick the guaranteed price, and pay for it, and stay out of the casino. So this is a numbers game. It's about averages. So on any one individual cruise, there's no real average. Okay, Diane Bednarski said, how many points would I need on a U.S. sailing to earn an instant certificate for an itinerary in either Europe or Asia? This is a great question, and of course it depends on the month. Every single month there's going to be a different set of offers released, and there's also another interesting tip that I'd like to give that I don't think a lot of people know about. It depends on the length of the sailing you're earning the cruise on. So there's two different offers. If you went on let's say you went on a cruise in December 2025, this month, right? There will be December 2025 offers that are given on 7-night sailings on Oasis class ships, and then there'll be December 2025 offers that are on Freedom class ships or Vision class ships that are sailing for 4 nights, or a different Oasis class ship that's sailing for 3 nights. And you think the 3-night sailing for the same number of points will have much better cruises on those certificates. Why? Because it's much more impressive for the cruise line for you to earn 1,500 points or 4,000 points over 3 nights than to do it over 7 nights or 10 nights or something like that for some of these longer cruises. So it depends. If you're on one of those, so basically there's the A offers and the C offers. We're going to get into details because I just talked to a host about this. So the C offers are for sailings that are 6 nights and longer. So those are not as impressive. To earn Asia on there, usually, and these aren't necessarily the most impressioning, but maybe 2,000 points or so to earn it on there. Whereas if on an A offer, only 1,500 points. If it's like a 4-night sailing or a 3-night sailing or even a 5-night sailing. So the threshold is, if it's 6 nights or longer, you need to earn a little bit more points to get some of those good offers. And if it's 5 nights or shorter, it's a little bit easier. But again, like I recommend in my other videos, when you get on your sailing, definitely look at those lists and see what you want before you start playing. Make sure there's a cruise that you even want to target, and make sure it's within your budget ballpark for what you're expecting to earn. So some Europe and Asia sailings that are 7 nights on really nice ships are really hard to get, and some that are only 4 nights aren't that hard to get. And for 4 nights, I'm specifically looking at Asia. There's a lot of 3 nights and 4 nights that aren't that hard to get. but some 7 nights in Europe can be tougher. So thank you for your question, Diane. Eric Ba asked about the 1,500 point certificate. Do you do that for one person then, or do you pay a solo supplement? If you earn a cruise offer for 2, right? Because there's 2 different on the 1,500 offers. There's cruise fare for 1 and there's cruise fare for 2. So this is a great question. If you earn cruise fare for 1, even if you go solo, the cruise fare for 1 is based on double occupancy. So if I plan to go solo and I earn cruise fare for 1, it's not a fully complimentary cruise. They're expecting me to pay for a second guest. And if it's myself, then yes, I basically am paying a solo supplement if I go by myself on a cruise fare for 1 offer. If I earn a cruise fare for 2 offer, whether I bring someone with me or I go by myself, I'm only responsible for taxes and fees for me, and if I bring someone, for my guest. So you want to make sure that if you want a fully complimentary offer on any of these, that you look for the ones that cruise fare for 2. Okay? Then if I go by myself, I would get double points, and I would only owe port tax and fees for me. If I bring someone else, I pay for both of us. But cruise fare for 1, it's kind of tricky there. Whether I bring me or somebody else, I still owe taxes and fees for a second, or I still owe cruise fare for a second person, which would effectively be a solo supplement. So thank you for your question. No solo supplement on a cruise fare for 2. And then the final question is a 3-part by Degen Cryptivities. Sorry about that for your name. It's going to be a 3-part, and it's going to be a case study, kind of, because he's got some really good questions about a specific situation he has coming up. So I recommend you sticking through for this one because I have a lot of interesting information and a lot of tips to kind of sneak in here. So, new sub, thank you for this video. It was the exact breakdown I was looking for. I have hit some jackpots on land and have not been on cruise ships in ages, booked a cruise with my parents who are also big slot players, and thought this would be great for them to start getting free cruises in retirement. So, Bankroll isn't as much of an issue for them as it is for me, but my question is more about the timing. Since we are going on Freedom the first week of February, I am assuming one of us gets to 1,500. So, first question here. Does that mean it would make more sense to start fresh after April and book the free cruise then? So, there's a couple different things you can do here. If you're going to start in February, or your parents are going to start in February, the adjustment I would make would, to your point, either, don't go in February, go in April if you want to try to do this cruise hacking with the least amount of money possible. Or if you're going in February and you said that the bankroll isn't as much of an issue for them and they can swing it, I would recommend targeting a 3,000 point offer, or at bare minimum a 2,000 point offer, and target getting to at least 2,500 points. Why 2,500 points? Like I talk about in my other videos where I go into this in detail, at 2,500 points you get the yearly casino status of Prime. Prime comes with a free 7-night cruise pretty much anywhere in the world. So the person who's asking about Asia or Europe itineraries, if you get to Prime, you can go to Asia or Europe on any 7-night or less sailing. So again, they might need a lot of points to get those on some cruises, but if you get Prime, you can get those pretty easily. So I recommend getting at least 2,500 points because they're not going to sail again until after that cutoff. If they get Prime on that cruise, they will be Prime, obviously, when they get it on the cruise. They'll have it for the next 2 months, and then they'll have it from April all the way to the following year. So if they earn it on that cruise, they'll have Prime for pretty much 14 months, right? If they earn it in February, they'll have it through the following end of March. So if they can't move their cruise to April, or they have the bankroll to do it, if you earn a 3,000 point offer, you're going to get a nicer offer than a 1,500, and it'll guarantee to get you to Prime. If you earn 2,500 points and stop right at Prime, there is no 2,500 point offer on an existing sailing, but there is a 2,000 one. So if they find a 2,000 point offer that they like, the minimum points I would go for would be 2,500. Again, assuming bankroll and stuff. Always stay within your bankroll and always stay within your means. Don't extend beyond it. But if they can get to 3,000 and they see that the sailings are nicer there, they'll probably get a nicer room category, get more free play, things like that. I would look into those. So, first question there. 2, do they allow you to book your free cruises months out? And so, yes, this is a 2-pronged thing as well. So, if you earn an offer on board, you can book it as soon as that cruise ends. So the day you get off the ship, that offer should be available in your account. You can book it immediately. And those offers that you earn will usually be up to a year out. So that list that you can choose from will include sailings up to about a year from when you booked. So you can't really book more than a year out, but you can book up to a year out if there's something about a year out that you like on that list. The other consideration is the Prime Cruise, and the Prime Cruise won't be available to book until after that period ends. So usually the last week of April is when the Prime Cruise becomes available to book. And now then you can book it for a year out, but you won't be able to. So if your parents go on a cruise in February and they earn Prime, they can book their onboard certificate as soon as they got off the ship, whether they earn 1,500 points, 2,000 points, or 3,000 points. They can book that particular certificate when they get off the ship, but they won't be able to book their Prime Cruise until the end of April, when all the Prime Cruises are released, because everyone's going to try to book cruises at the same time. That's kind of how it works. They let the Masters, the highest tier, go a few days before, and then the Signatures, and then the Prime at the end. And even in Prime, the higher Primes will get released a day before the lower Primes, and there's that whole thing. So I hope that makes sense. And then question number 3, I understand that I'll be working towards Prime starting fresh in the new cycle. Anything else to consider? So just tying it all in, there are some things to consider. So number 1 is, if this is something a lot of people don't realize works right away or something like that, if your parents are drinkers, one of the main Prime benefits is that you earn drinks in the casino. Not only do you get your free cruise, but you have drinks in the casino while the casino is open. If your parents are big drinkers, and they earn Prime on the cruise they're on, as soon as they earn 2,500 points, they can go to the host. They can say, hey, can you confirm that I've hit Prime? If you have 2,500 points on your card, they will put a sticker on your card, and you can start drinking that very cruise, that very moment for free immediately. So there are some people who, when they go to optimize this, they go on to do, they're not really worried about variance, they're not worried about low volatility, they're not worried about stuff like that. They just want to get to Prime right away. They'll bet heavily on days 1 and 2, get Prime on day 2 of a 7-night cruise or something, and then have free drinks the rest of that cruise. So that is a consideration. Obviously, that increases the volatility. If we talk about spreading those betting out over the entire cruise, that'll minimize volatility. If you front load it, it'll obviously maximize it. But if your parents have the bankroll for it and don't really mind that much, they can always bet lower volatility slots at higher bets to get it sooner. That's a consideration for Prime. Otherwise, like I said, if you start in April or later, then you have multiple cruises if you have time to earn that. If you start in February, unless they're going to take another cruise in March, I mean, it's possible they can earn a 1,500 certificate, and if your parents have time, there are cruises on that certificate for the following month. Like, your parents could get on this, I don't know when in February, because that obviously matters, but if they go the first week of February, and they earn a 1,500 point offer, and then they book up that 1,500 point offer for the following month in March, and go on it then, earn another 1,500, then they can earn Prime that way. Maybe they have the time and the money and they want to do that. If they don't want to cruise more than once every 6 months or something, then yeah, maybe they optimize by getting a 3,000 point offer in March. So anything else to consider about Prime? Prime's pretty valuable, which is why I set up the optimization the way that it is. So 1,500, but if you want to do it in one shot, shoot for 2,500 and get a 2,000 point offer, or if you want to go for the more luxury, the nicer cruise with more options and more free play, more onboard credit, the 3,000 point offer. Again, just make sure you check out the difference between the C offers and the A offers, but the host will be able to help you with all that on board. So again, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I hope this Q&A was helpful. Leave more questions in the comments if you want. If there's enough, I can make another one, or I can respond to some of those in there. But I hope you found this helpful. I hope you guys can all get some value out of these videos, and it makes cruising more affordable and hopefully more fun. But always remember, stay within your budget, within your means, gamble responsibly, please. And please subscribe to this channel if you haven't so far. Like the videos and share them with others, and I'll see you in the next one.